pancakes and waffles and pancakes.
Yeah, looks like it's good and live.
Great.
Oh, I didn't even get an ad for cereal this time.
No ad for cereals? Does it look smooth or not smooth or what? Hello, everyone.
Yeah, it looks good.
Cool. All right. The reason we've all brought you here today is to celebrate Daniel's second birthday. He has turned 2. We are celebrating by buying him all the bananas in the world. So we're going to accept a fundraiser for this charity event during the stream. If you all feel like donating your bananas, send them to whatever Daniel's address is. I'm sure he'll give it to you. Just ask him. It's not like he's private or anything. And while you're here, come to the basement and save me. And
Well, sorry, what was that last?
what?
What was that? What was that last little bit?
What? I didn't. I must have sneezed.
Sorry, I live too far away. Can't help. I'm waiting for a hurricane to hit. Hope it doesn't knock out my internet. I want to stream.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess we're all ready to start. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hylian Gamescast episode 173. Today we're going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I always forget how to say that. I always want to say Breath of the Wild 2, Tears of the Calamity, or Tears of the Wild, or something. Oh, wow, we have a $20 super chat already from Callie Lynn. Thank you so much. That'll go straight to the the Daniel Banana Fund. There's another $10 from Naomi.
Oh!
It's one. Brianna, Michael, how much could it cost? Oh, it's one banana. Michael. Who's Michael?
Why do I feel like that's an Office reference?
Sounds like one.
It sounds like it, but I don't remember all Office references.
Or is it a part? That show.
The one that's really similar?
Yeah, that's
Parks and Rec?
not Parks and Rec. It's the.
No. Sound like I don't watch
That
Parks and
one.
Rec. I can't say.
Community?
Oh, he said Arrested Development.
That's the one I was thinking. I couldn't remember the name, but it's like the rich woman. You're like, oh, how much could it cost? $10,000 or something like that. $100 or. There you go.
Who has
Sorry,
$100
it's my
these
brain.
days?
No
So
way.
yes,
One of my students' moms.
we're going to be talking about
Me and Mo.
All right, for class, here's the money. He hands a $100 bill, and I'm like, I haven't
Who's
seen one of
$100
these in
bill?
ages.
Jeez, yeah. Wow.
You want
So
to take more
rich in the chat.
classes?
I want to take more classes.
Yes. We are all geek students now.
Yes.
I mean, I'm still an apprentice myself, so maybe not with dance.
what is-
Dance, I'm somewhere above apprentice. I'm a professor, but not a master.
There you go.
a professor of the mystic arts, like Doctor Strange.
Yes.
No, just ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop, and musical theater.
Cool. All right, so we're going to be talking about Tears of the Kingdom, which I actually, in my last video, at the very, very end, I don't know how I did not catch it. It's like 11 minutes into the video, I actually say Tears of the Wild, and then there was like a billion comments. They were like,
I
hey.
noticed that.
I'm like, oh, jeez. It's like
It's a sequel to it.
It's like Zelda Wii U, whenever Breath of the Wild was first announced, or even Twilight Princess was first known as Wind Waker 2, even though it looked completely different and was completely different. So,
Right.
interesting. But yeah, I suck at talking, so we're going to get started and let Daniel and Geek introduce themselves. Daniel, why don't you start? Who are you?
Oh, sure.
Where can
I'm
people
Daniel.
find you?
Hello. Hello, everybody. I'm Daniel, aka Capt Bergerson, and all the links are in the description there if you want to listen to me talk about Zelda and Zelda dungeons, and I'll stream some video games. Actually, been streaming a lot of Splatoon lately, so that's me. That's who I am. gonna pass it over to Geek now.
I'm like, when do I take the baton? I'm not sure.
Take it. Baton
All right.
passed.
Well, as Daniel said, links are in the description, but I am the Geek Apprentice. I also make videos, can be very, very sporadic. But one thing that has gotten a decent schedule is my streaming Thursdays and Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Could be Kirby, could be Animal Crossing. Maybe one day it'll actually be Twilight Princess again. Lots of different things. I actually just released a video today. Yeah, that's me.
It was a good one too. I watched it just before we were setting up. It was good.
Thank you.
I watched both of your guys' videos, your most recent videos, like this morning while I'm doing stuff and getting ready. So good watches. Absolutely.
Thank you. I actually watched Jesse's this morning too. That's when I was like, Tears of the Wild. I was like, I would make that slip up. No shame
I'm still
there.
not used to saying Tears of the Kingdom. Like
I know.
keep wanting to say Breath of the Wild or you know, it like rolls off the tongue.
Well, we've all been
Despite
trained.
the fact that I've got in my desktop background and I'm literally looking at the title Tears of the Kingdom like on my desktop background every day. Oops. Yeah. Sorry, Jesse.
No, you're fine. We're all used to saying Breath of the Wild 2 anyways, so it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a thing there on the I don't know. It's like at the live chat, there's like the part at the very top left corner that's poking out, and I'm like, I need to fix that, but I don't know how. So
because it's what's behind.
Yeah, we're gonna start off with Splatoon 3, talk about that, and then get into some Breath of the Wild, the other Zelda stuff, and there is a fly in here that is trying to kill me. At least it's not a palmetto
Daniel
bug,
sent
though.
it down. Yes. Yes. Yes.
So, Daniel, you've been streaming quite a bit of Splatoon. How's that game going? Now that you actually have the chance to play it, you participated in the first ever Splatfest for it.
It's so addictive. The game is like so. I think because it's just like they're very quick matches, like 3 minutes a match. You just jump in, and it's like little like bursts of adrenaline, and then several hours have gone by suddenly. It's like, oh no, I need to go to bed an hour ago. No, the game is really, really good. I know a lot of people, and including myself, I was very apprehensive about the game when it was announced, and even when they had the direct, because I was like, is this necessary? Like, this feels like the kind of game that you would want to wait till the next console for.
Mm-hmm.
Between Splatoon 1 and 2, I waited for the jump from Wii U to Switch. But no, I found, at least, that it doesn't have any like one big major change that sets it above the second one. But there's so many small little tweaks that all add up in a really big way. And then jumping back to the previous games, it's like kind of hard to do now. So yeah, it's really lovely. I did a stream with Tube, and Hyrule Gamer came on actually on Saturday. And we were streaming it for like 3 hours of just, that's how like 3 hours goes by. And it's like just snappy matches. Yeah, it's very, very good. I kind of want more stage variety and stuff, especially more. I've already unlocked all the weapons and everything as well. So they said that they're going to add more in updates every like 3 months though. So yeah, it's very, very good. I don't know what else to say about that. Tube isn't here to jump in and take the reins on that. I know she's been playing a lot too, though. We found the game where I think she's actually better than me at it. Finally. So, not to just throw her under the bus like that.
She was doing quite a bit. The stream that I was watching of y'all, I was like, oh, she killing it.
Yeah, she consistently. I would get more kills, but she would consistently actually get a higher score overall than I would. So yeah, absolutely. Even my wife was like, we played some matches online. She was like, how is she so good at this game? I was like, I don't know. I thought I was good at this, but then I play with other people. I'm like, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. Oh, well.
That's how I feel about Mario Kart. I'm like, psh, I can come in first all the time. Plays online. Comes in last all the time.
All the time. Yeah, I'm definitely not great at Mario Kart. So yeah, no, the game's very good. I still haven't touched the story mode though at all in Splatoon. Because I'm waiting until I finish streaming the stuff from Splatoon 2, all the DLC stuff, and then I'll stream story mode. So I actually haven't touched it at all yet. Oops, but that's okay.
Would you say it's still worth it, even if you wouldn't be interested in story mode? Because I'm not gonna lie, I've been watching the Splatoon stuff, and I'm like, this would be so fun to play with viewers, and it seems like it'd be simple enough for me to grasp.
Yeah, I mean, again, not to throw anyone under the bus, my wife's been playing it a lot. She's not like a very hardcore gamer. So, I mean, if she can jump into it and have a great time, I think anyone really could. Just might want to look through the control settings to feel like what feels most comfortable for you, because the gyro aiming is a little different than in most games, so it can be a little jarring, I think. And I think the default sensitivity is too high. I always turn the sensitivity on the gyro down.
Oh, that'd be good to know,
less.
because I'm someone who would be like this too.
Yeah,
so that would not.
And it's like the camera all the time tied to the gyro, so it's like very easy for people to jump in, and suddenly it's like, like you're just all over the place. Yeah. So. But yeah, it's really great, really fun to do, and yeah, it's it's hard to explain. Because my parents were asking me about this. They're like, "What is a Splatoon?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh," it's hard to explain the appeal to it. Much like with Animal Crossing, right? It's like you can't. Like, it's hard to explain what you're feeling about Animal Crossing. Same with Splatoon. But like actually jumping in and playing it, it's so fun that I found like even matches where I'm losing, I'm having a great time. So, yeah.
That's a good sign. Because Smash always felt overwhelming to me. Even though I played it as a kid, I'm just like, I don't understand fight techniques, where I feel like Splatoon, I could just be like, okay, I'm not good at, like, I wouldn't be good at getting kills or anything, but I'd be like, I'll go over here and squirt some stuff. Now I'm going to go over here and squirt some stuff. Yeah, I contributed.
Yeah, exactly. It is absolutely one of those games where it's a shooter, but, like, you literally, like, the most unskilled player can shoot the ground and they're contributing to the whole team.
Tell my mom about it.
Yeah, I kind of
She'll be like, that's offensive.
I did not mean that offensive. But it's great if you've got, like people with kids especially, right?
No, my mom will be the first to admit that she has no idea what's happening.
Right. I feel like once you're actually playing, it's like pretty easy to get the hang of it. It's one of those games where it has a very high skill ceiling, but a very low barrier of entry, if that makes sense. So
yeah, that does.
Yeah, and there are like more competitive modes, but then of course like those are not for everyone, right? So it's like you could just like choose to not play it in those like the anarchy battles, which are like really competitive. So yeah, it's great. It's really great. And like I've been actually, let me see. I've already put more hours into it than I ever did Splatoon 2, which is absurd.
That is insane.
It is. Let me see how many hours it is. 80. Oh, shit. I put 80 hours into it already. It's been out like, what,
when
2
did
weeks?
It come out? Yeah, I was about to be like, has it even been 2 weeks?
2, maybe 3
or
weeks.
Or like a little over 2.5.
Yep. Oops. So I haven't even touched, like you were like, oh, is it worth it if you're not interested in story mode? I haven't even touched story mode. I put that much into it, so that's that's good.
So I'm debating if I want to do that or wait, because I don't want to buy too many games at once and get the Pokemon game.
Right.
Because Pokemon is one that like I'll play for a while and then I just drop off and never play again.
That is the thing I find with Pokemon is I never find that there's a lot of replay value. I'll play Pokemon games start to finish, and then I'll never touch it again. That's, I don't know. Whereas, like, I find Zelda, like, I can restart in a lot of games like Zelda and have no problem restarting my game. But Pokemon, it's like, I feel like if I'm restarting, I'm like, I am going to wipe these creatures that I love out of existence if I restart. Like,
Yeah.
I can't do it.
I feel like there's more of a grind to Pokemon, and sometimes it's an okay grind that I'm fine with, and sometimes I'm very much not. Like we've discussed way in the past, somehow we jumped to Pokemon now. That's my fault. But like we've talked about, I hate random encounters because if I have to look for a certain Pokemon, I'm finding a bunch of Rattatas forever. But anyway,
I agree. Although Scarlet and Violet looks
in.
like it'll be good on that front, but
same.
Because I also
I'm
hate random
excited.
encounters. We are aligned on that. But yeah, it's I do kind of wish the Splatoon 3 demo was not simply a timed event, like it was that one day that you can demo, because it's like I really feel like demos are a great way to do it. Like there are many games where I'm hesitant to try it, but then there's a demo, so I'll just try the demo out, and I'll determine at that point if I'm gonna play the game or not. Like Pikmin. I'm not a long-time Pikmin fan. Pikmin 3 on Wii U was my first Pikmin game. And there was a free demo, and I was just like, okay, I'll just try the demo out. Why not? And now it's like one of my favorite series, one of my favorite games ever, right? And I kind of get with Splatoon being like so heavily an online game that's like you need to make sure there's going to be enough people playing at one time for a demo to be worthwhile.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's like if you missed that day, now there's no way to just try the game out before you buy it. And with how expensive games are, it's like a commitment to jump into it. So I don't know. Yeah,
that's how I felt about Kirby. I did the demo and I liked the demo, so I was like, okay, cool. Got the game and I've enjoyed it so far. So
yeah, same, because I was not sure because some Kirby games are kind of hit and miss for me. So it's funny though with Kirby in specific, I was a little bummed initially that the no progress would carry over from the demo.
Yeah,
but then
that bothered me at first too.
The demo's levels were actually different than the final game.
Yeah, it was like a mix of levels, and I was like, oh, okay, I gotcha.
And yeah. So I think I've talked Splatoon enough. Jesse, you've been quiet. Did you have anything?
Oh no, I was just listening. I haven't had the
questions or anything.
I haven't had the pleasure of playing it. Something, I guess, moving on to, I almost said Breath of the Wild 2 again. Moving on to 𝗏𝗏 of the Kingdom. It's so hard to say. So in my newest video, I start off with something that I thought was interesting, with Nintendo changing the description on their website and a bunch of other places where the original, if I can find it here, says they basically reworded it but still used all of the main words but took out one thing that was interesting, because they took it out from just about every website except for articles that published before, but GameStop and other places even switched to the newer description as well. If I can find my documents. Yes. Okay, here we go. It says, so it originally stated The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, in addition to the vast lands of Hyrule, the latest entry in the storied Legend of Zelda series will take you up into the skies and an expanded world that goes beyond that. Look forward to Link's massive adventure starting again when The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, drops for Nintendo Switch on May 2nd, 2023. Originally, when they updated it, they removed the whole thing about and beyond, to where it just says, the latest entry in the storied Legend of Zelda series will take you up into the skies. And it's like, why would you mention, or why would you go through all the trouble of just removing that one part and beyond? Unless it was a spoiler of some sort of different world, which most Zelda games do have. Even Wind Waker had the weird underwater thing, and that was only for a dungeon. Skyward Sword had the Silent Realm or whatever, so it could be something like that, where in Skyward Sword it didn't really change anything, even though it was technically a different realm, it was just, yeah, not anything,
Yeah,
like not anything like the Dark World or Low World.
Exploration.
Yeah. So
yeah, it was more just like very specific curated challenges in that realm, but yeah, not like you said, Low World and Dark World's a good example where it's like proper overworld traversal in this alternate realm.
Yep.
And
yeah,
I know a lot of people are expecting to explore underground. We've seen that one cave in the new trailer when Link is riding the rock to the sky with the reversibility, and we see the new cave opening there. So that could be signs that like different entrances are going to pop up over Hyrule to let you get into these caves, or it could just be like a little crevice from an earthquake or something where like a chunk of the rock or boulder just collapsed off of it or something. Or it could be pointing towards something like the Sacred Realm or something brand new entirely. But what are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you think it's anything? Do you think it's nothing at all? Or, yeah. Starting with you, Geek.
So my imaginative brain says, oh yeah, they were trying to hide something, blah, 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 different things like when we've had things like Low Roll and such in the past. But then the other part of me that's going, now I don't want to say the pessimistic side, not pessimistic, just the, I don't want to get too imaginative, like to the point where I create unrealistic expectations. That side of me is going, they just didn't like that description and decided to change it. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of half and half where I'm like, it totally could be alluding to that. And I'm sure we have evidence of Nintendo doing similar things in the past where they're like, oh, no, too much out there. Whoops. But also there's a big part of me that's like, I don't want to, I want to imagine things, but I'm also like, maybe they just didn't like how they worded it. Or maybe Nintendo of Japan didn't like how Nintendo of America worded it, unless this was the translation for other languages too. I don't know. But as far as English goes, it could have been like too wordy. Take it out. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like it could just be like a phrasing thing, or they wanted to like have a shorter
Natsu. Daniel's talking smack about me. I could tell. Come there.
There we go. Sound exists.
Yay!
Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. You can blame me, I guess. Or you can actually blame OBS because it decided to update.
I was going to say OBS.
While I was in the middle of trying to, while they were in the middle of talking, and because it was updating, it wouldn't, yeah. So, apologies.
And I know, Mrs. The audio's in Spanish now.
All the technical issues that we have, I would not, I would not question if someone was like, it's like auto-translating for me. What's going on?
What is that? What's going on?
Yeah, really.
What's going on?
I think we've all had that moment where like we're streaming and your laptop or your PC from your laptop is like, so were you ready for your annual update? And you're like, no!
No!
Not while I am live!
That happened.
Yeah.
It's like I've been saying remind me tomorrow for like several months straight. Don't you know I don't want this update to ever happen?
I know. Don't you want to update to Windows? No, I don't. I don't like change.
No. Remind me tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes I'll schedule it for like 2 a.m. and then it'll say we weren't able to do it because your laptop wasn't open. I was like, because I was asleep. I wanted you to do it while I was asleep.
Yep. There it goes.
So Daniel, I believe you were in the middle of talking. Just start over for everyone.
It went quiet basically about the point that you started talking. You were looking up what Mia, one of the two said in the update launch.
𝗵𝗲𝗛𝗆.
𝗵𝗲𝗛𝗆.
Did the fusion dance and no, yeah, I was looking at what 𝗷𝗛𝗆 was saying. Let me go back to it now because I already forgot what I said. Who said this adventure in the sequel will take place not just on the ground as in the previous game, but also in the skies above. However, the expanded world goes beyond that, and there will be an even wider variety of features you can enjoy. So, my initial thought is that the original description was trying to kind of match, in a blurb, trying to match roughly what he was saying. But then they decided to change it for the sake of fitting it into tweets better, or just to make the marketing more concise or more focused on things that are easier to advertise the appeal of, if that makes sense. A lot of the marketing has been about the sky lately, at least, which is funny because the first two trailers were all about all this underground stuff. So it is interesting that they're so focused on the sky now. Actually, no, mostly the first trailer. Second trailer had the sky already. But you get my point. It started out with a heavy focus on like there's this dark stuff going on underground and Ganondorf's dehydrated. And now it's all about the sky. So yeah, my thought is that we're going to see them marketing, like all the marketing material is going to be featuring Link in the sky, because that's what's new about this game, or that's what's new about this game without a spoiler about the story. So, but it could also be that Nintendo they kind of saw the phrasing as being too vague, or they wanted to stop us from piecing things together too quickly before the game even launches. Because if you recall, and we've already sort of done that, but with the Breath of the Wild, they had that Sheikah tapestry, which was written in Sheikah, a fictional language that we had never seen before. And people were still able to decipher it and translate it and figure out like half the game's backstory already, like months before the game came out.
Oh, that reminds me. I think she's in the chat as well.
Oh.
I completely forgot. We were supposed to do the translation thing. I should check, see if...
Well, that's a good segue, because I don't remember what else I said. I think that's the gist of it, though. So, and that's more interesting anyways than me going on about marketing. So, even though I actually think marketing is really interesting, but...
I think it's interesting when it's stuff I care about. In other words, in this case, it's interesting because I care about it.
Also, Rin brings up a point. How the heck did they translate a language they'd never seen before? Well, other than sheer dedication, I think that's kind of what we're seeing with... There's those inscriptions in the last trailer. That again, it's a new language we haven't seen before, a new script at least. So, Jesse, why don't you take us away with that one?
Oh,
You're the one with the inside scoop, or the not inside scoop. Just the scoop.
Okay. Let me go to, because I want to get this right, because the original plan was to have what?
Sorry, Jesse. I'm just going to point out, Ravenheart in the chat said the description in German is the same as the English one, so they quickly changed the descriptions of all languages, not just the English.
The Japanese language is actually really different.
Interesting. Oh, okay. Well, at least.
Do you remember I mentioned it to you guys in the Discord? The Japanese one's more about time starting over and stuff like that.
What?
What? I missed this.
Are you sure you mentioned this in the Discord? Because both of us are like, excuse me?
Yeah,
What?
I can't check Discord right now, sadly, because maybe if I can get my phone. Hold on.
Or are we talking about the translation thing, which is Japanese? I don't know, because I was just going on about the website description.
All I heard is time starting over, and I'm like, what does that mean?
It was
That means a lot. I mean, oh, Natsu. Yes, please, Natsu.
Yes, Natsu, do the thing.
What's Natsu doing?
Apparently, you messaged Natsu with it.
Oh yeah, I did.
So Natsu's gonna send it to me. Then you don't have to find it.
Aaron says, Jesse telling Natsu all the secrets.
Well, he was helping me with their video, so.
Yeah.
Here is the I'm gonna just read it. Jesse was doing research for one of his videos, just trying to find out if Nintendo mentioned anything about the game or any official statement. Went back to their website. They changed the official description, keeping a lot of the same words, but removing the line about a world beyond, as we just talked about. So I'm wondering if it was a spoiler for a place like a Sacred Realm or another realm. Nintendo realized, got rid of the spoilers. Otherwise, they changed the description on a bunch of websites, just remove the one line. Also, the Japanese description mentions the game being, well, this. In this work, in addition to the vast land of Hyrule, the stage of adventure spreads to the sky. Please look forward to Link's endless adventure, which will begin again.
Oh.
Yeah, it says his endless adventure, which will begin again. So shouldn't it just be like his adventure to continue? And it also mentions
I guess I take
endless.
that as like, well, every Zelda game is a new adventure for Link, so.
Yeah, but technically.
That's what I'm thinking. I kind of wonder if it's just we're missing some nuance to Japanese language, because there's a lot of words that like we kind of divine different meaning from in English. But endless adventure is interesting because like there's an end to the game for sure, unless there's some sort of cyclical
cycle of rebirth. Because I mean that's the whole reason Skyward Sword says why we have so many Zelda games is because keeps his hatred will be born anew. But yeah, that is true. There's the nuance of languages. At least I remember when I was learning the German language, phrases we have in English that you don't have a word for in German and vice versa. And I know that goes for any language. Yeah, which is very fascinating. But it also makes it difficult for translations.
Totally unrelated. But I saw this tweet where someone was like, oh, actually, I still have it open on my phone, apparently. They said, imagine if English functioned like Chinese languages do, and you could drop a sick proverb in the middle of conversation, and then their example is, oh, you did badly on your exam? Well, he who plants melons will harvest melons, and he who plants beans will harvest beans. What you think about that? I'm like, dude, that's an idiom. We have those.
Yeah.
we have those. Sorry. Like, I mean, I get what you're going for, but
yeah,
what is it? There is a phrase, what you reap is what you sow. That's like literally almost the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Anyway, but yeah. Anyways, I think it hits different probably if you're
Yeah.
a Chinese speaker, unlike me, who is a pleb. So.
Well, it's like I think in German there's this word Fernweh, which there is no equivalent for, at least not in English. There might be in other languages, but that one word encapsulates the thought of being homesick for a place you've never been to. That's what it means. So it's like, I wonder if any of those words are like that. Low key, that's one of my favorite German words. I'm like, I feel that. I feel Fernweh for Ireland. I've never been there, but I feel homesick for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, sidetracked.
Right, hold on just 1 second while I try to figure this out, because I want to try to get it on screen.
All right.
So I can show some of it, because she has the what each what she found out, like each letter she thinks what it goes to or whatever. So.
While you're doing that, I'll mention Rin in the chat says English definitely has its nuances, which of course I wasn't trying to say it doesn't. And a lot of it is inflection rather than the actual words. That's a good point. Or even just context.
Yeah.
Or even just, forgive my swears, but saying that something is shit versus something is the shit, you know, has literally the opposite meaning.
That's a point. Good point.
But also saying that you're up for something and that you're down for something, which should mean the opposite, means the same thing. So
yeah.
it's weird, right?
Oh, yeah.
English is weird. Yeah.
Yeah. We break our own rules. It's hilarious. Like, I think
just like I before E, except when your beige neighbor, your foreign beige neighbor is feigning. Yeah, so there's a whole spiel. I can't remember what it was. Your foreign beige neighbor.
Oh yeah, they're in first grade. Science was one of our spelling words, and that's when our teachers, we had two teachers, introduced us to Tricky Ricky. He breaks all of the English rules because we had just learned I before E except after C, so we all thought we knew how to spell the word science because we knew it was SC. And they were like, "This is a Tricky Ricky word."
Right.
No, it doesn't work for that one.
There you go. I like that.
It's weird. Another one of those.
What? I before E, except when your foreign beige neighbor is pulling a feisty heist. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
this is a work in progress.
Your
because
mic peaked for half of one syllable and then and then went back to normal.
Yeah, that hurt. That hurt myself.
This
Very
is
surprising.
A work in progress, because I don't know if this is. Wait, hold on. I just got a new one. Useful. It's a simple version of my grid. Okay, she just sent a couple of things. I guess that is simple. Okay, it's a spreadsheet. Alright, so this started like a day after the trailer, or the same day that the trailer released, I guess. I don't really remember when the first one came, but it says, "Hey Jesse, I believe it's got a solution, or I believe I've got a solution to the rims. I came across the below by reading the symbols top to bottom and right to left. I've run both through aristocratic analysis multiple times, as well as statistical analysis via 𝗧𝗵𝗃, a tool used to try to solve the Zodiac 340 cipher. By all means, I could have made mistakes, and I'd welcome any secondary proofing." And then there's the left side. I think it's like the symbols. It's like we see on the left side, and there's like other symbols that are on the right side because it like goes in a row or whatever. And then it has the cipher, so ABC, like the English alphabet, and then the key, which goes through like HIKA, which is what each of them translates to, and then it has the hiragana, I guess, the Japanese symbols text or whatever, like the Japanese version of it. Because unlike most Zelda languages, there have been a few that have translated to Japanese in the past, but normally it translates to English, which is...
I think Wind Waker onward, it's all translated to English, but pre-Wind Waker, a lot of it translated to Japanese, which is interesting.
So the first translation that she has is the one that I sent you guys. Daylight comes and goes, but the sun never shines. Like father, like son, like daughter. And then it says 𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃, which I don't know what that is. I don't know if it says 𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 or if that's the thing. Basically, all the text that we see is like little poems. ZENKOAN.
It's unsurprisingly from what I'm reading here, is like a Buddhist riddle or like literary device, if that makes sense. And now there's a lot of Buddhist and Shinto influences in Zelda, so that's not too surprising. But yes, that's at least what a quick Google search got me. So I might be completely off base, but like
in chat they're saying Zoe says they can be meant as unsolvable riddles.
Yes. Also, Rick's asking, is this the text from the trailer? Yes, that's what we're
This
talking about. This is the translated text.
And then
Jess, you're gonna make a video on this too, right?
Yeah, to better explain it.
I was gonna say this is prime video material
because it's
the world needs to know.
It's all like it started out as like a work in progress, and she thinks that she got more accurate as she went on and started applying it to more text from the trailer. And so yeah, it says that she started out trying to decipher it to standard English, but nothing was really making sense. She was just getting a lot of this, that, and the. And she was like, that doesn't make sense. So then she thought maybe it was Japanese, as they did with the Hylian alphabet for Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, and Minish Cap. Given the new game's involvement with the ancient, I felt that further confirmed Japanese as a possibility. From that moment, I started trying to substitute single runes with hiragana. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's the Japanese text or symbols. And immediately I noticed that certain patterns emerged, but I couldn't get anything useful. Ultimately, I turned off the dictionary mode for my tooling and focused on statistically character replacement for letter frequencies for common blurbs of Japanese text. That was when I started getting results that formed basic Japanese words. The mistake in the earlier approach was thinking that one rune would translate to one hiragana syllable. Once I started seeing words appear in the analysis, I realized that it was more likely that every two runes would likely act as a pair that translated back to one hiragana character. From there, I changed to analyzing via the right to left, top to bottom approach, given the Japanese scrolls are written that way. On the first run, the left panel solved with almost no modifications needed. It was so close that the raw text even translated to something like shining brightly, not shining brightly. So that would be like the literal translation, and then to like basically what they do in localization with games. Instead of like, this is the word in Japanese, this is what it means in English, and then you get an English sentence that doesn't sound too accurate, kind of like what Google Translate does sometimes. But Google Translate even attempts to rephrase it so it still means the same thing, but yeah, like instead of bright ball in the sky, you would say sun. So yeah, that's basically what she was trying to do. This was a good indicator that I was close. For a major reason in scroll writing, it's common to have three columns where the right column is the positive text and the left column is more negative. This fit with the rough translation, final translation. There's a bunch of other stuff. There was another text that she found, or whenever she got a better way to rephrase it or to translate it, she says, when the sun shines, the moon shines. When the moon shines, the stars shine. When the sun sets, the moon turns red. Daylight comes and goes, but the sun never shines. This structure follows the common structure of Japanese poetry by starting with an observation and closing with a seasonal reference. The second set of hiragana by itself refers to a cold and sunny day. It only comes together when ordered properly. I was able to further confirm that the sentence ending hiragana in the translations are very consistent with Japanese cutting words that are used in poetry. Is there anything else?
An interesting line there about the moon turns red.
Mhm.
Almost certainly sounds like a reference to, I mean, obviously, the blood moon.
Blood moon.
I have no idea
and
how
with
you could
all
draw
the
that
depictions of
conclusion.
Malice right? Who would have thought? No, I know it's obvious to point
Crazy.
out, but I feel like if we don't point it out, someone's going to comment and be like, "Well, actually." So,
Yeah.
I gotta put it out there, even the obvious things. But with all the depictions of Malice in those wall carvings and stuff, it makes me wonder how long blood moon's been going on in Hyrule's history.
She said
There's a
that
lot there. But anyways, please go on, Jessie.
she, because I asked her about the other text in the game instead of the ones that are just on the carvings, and I asked about the spiral we see from the first trailer, that everyone was trying to figure out what the designs were, like if they were just symbols or if it would just, the energy just kind of randomly made those symbols or whatever, because people were trying to translate it but no one could, and they're like, that's just designs or whatever, it's not supposed to mean anything. But she went back to that, which I guess is a lot harder to translate because the symbols are morphing while they're spiraling around. So it's like, how do I read it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
She said, I believe they are the same alphabet from the spiral. I need to spend some time looking at that again, too, as well as the symbols on the shrines from the E3 trailer. I've been trying hard to not let myself read into translation too much. My mind wants to pull me towards Twilight Princess, but I don't want to commit to anything because I'm not certain that this isn't one giant misdirection involving wholly new characters. I started trying to substitute some of the key from the panels into other findings, and sure enough, they are yielding results for the incoming spam over the next few days. I can't help myself. In the middle, she sends a picture of the not the two dragons on the door because they're facing each other, but the symbol in the logo where they're opposite, and it's like the Ouroboros or whatever. She sends an image of it, and it only has like a few things on it, and it says, oh, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but it translates to meeting of lovers. So I guess it's like two dragons that, I don't know, start together, I guess.
I will say that
Or
it kind of makes sense because a
like,
big misconception is a lot of people are saying that they're eating each other's tails, but if you actually look at it, their mouths are closed, so they're just kind of coiling around each other. So the idea of them being lovers is interesting because there's like a certain weird hostility to eating another creature, and especially one of the same type as you. So I mean, we've been calling it an Ouroboros, which is like a serpent eating its own tail, which is like sort of a symbol of like beginnings and ends and cycles like that. But I think that this has a very different meaning to it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, they're not actually eating each other or swallowing each other's tails. They're just hugging or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Jessie, please continue.
I'm trying
I just had
to
to throw that in the ring there.
So what we've heard so far, I'm like, if this is an accurate translation and she's put a ton of work into it.
Yeah, I don't know what scene she's talking about here, which I asked her about, but I probably should have been a little bit clear when I was asking, because she said, asked her about other stuff, and she said, I think a lot of the characters on the temple doors are not accurate or accurately captured. I'm pretty bad at upscaling because you have to zoom in on it and it gets blurry. So that was something else that I said I would help her with, since I was doing that for my videos anyways. So I've been relying on a lot of your 4K videos along with other captures to verify them. So far I suspect that until we can get a very solid capture of the door, it would be hard to be confident. I did make a preliminary attempt at translating it, and I did get an interesting result. It appears that it might say, so I think this is another translation. Maybe she can clarify in the chat if this is like a new one over the old one, or if what she means here. But it says building of counselors. So I guess like maybe that's text that's on the door and not going down the dragon. Is there text that's on the door that's not on the dragon? Like off to the side?
I will pull the trailer up and take a look because I don't have it open here.
Or is
I
there...
was trying to think, was
the
there
door.
text on that bird thing we see him gliding on? On the tail, it looked like there was writing, but it could have just been swirls.
But building of
I don't see
counselors...
anything on the door. Or the weird bird thing. Maybe Zoe in the chat can clarify. It's for the big doors
Jeez. Big doors.
only. I don't see it on the door though. Oh no, wait, I do. Okay. It's actually very faint. It's very hard to see, but yeah, it is on the door. There's the two dragons smooching, and
there's
there is
text
that kind of goes along their sides, like
Yeah.
along the dragons. So that text, you're saying that translates to building of counselors?
Is there text that's like off to the side on the door?
No, it's on the door.
Okay.
It is on the dragons. It's on the dragons that are on the door. Tell you what, I'll turn off my camera and I'll screen
Ask
share
if...
the
No,
trailer.
I was going to ask you to ask her, but she's in the chat. So can you clarify, because you said you sent a picture of the dragons like where they're spiraling or whatever, not smooching but coiling around each other, and you mentioned the...
Yeah. You see this on these dragons on the door. There's text along there.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
Hold on, I have to get this.
Sorry, I just like threw that up there, but I thought I would just have a visual aid. I figured this was a kind of easy way to do it, especially if I turn off my webcam. And but yeah, that is like the text kind of like goes along the dragon's sides. So it could be that this is meant to be like an equivalent of like counselors, yeah, maybe like wise people, or it's like a government building for whoever these this race is, or someone saying chamber of sages, like, because like building of is kind of vague, but like chamber of sages, maybe something similar to that idea.
Well, it could translate, because like building could be like house, monument, temple, castle,
right?
Like any kind of synonym,
right? So that, yeah.
And then counselors,
it could be nothing, it could be everything.
Like with counselors, that's like someone you would imagine being wise and like giving you guidance or something, and the sages were originally called like the wise maidens or wise men or whatever. So it could translate to something like chamber of sages if you switch the synonyms around.
Yeah.
So where is the text that's on the spiraling dragons?
That's a good question.
Can you or was that a retranslation of, I don't know. If you can clarify in the live chat.
Oh, okay, hang on. What Zoe says, for the other dragon thing I was referring to in the timing update trailer where Link is holding the damaged Master Sword, the characters appear to be on the same logo, or as on the logo dragons. Okay. Okay. Hold on. See if I can pull up the I've got it downloaded somewhere here. The delay.
Maybe it would be easier if I did it, but we already got this going.
And Rin responded that would make sense, especially if Link has to come into that building to restore the Master Sword. Then it would make sense that the text overlaps.
Hey,
so where that where Link is holding. Wait, did that work? Me sharing this?
Yeah, we see it.
Clip where he's holding it. Oh, you can see there's symbols on the platform behind him, or like that he's standing on. Oh, this is the wrong video, but it has the right clips in it. I opened the wrong video.
Okay, so that is the meeting of lovers one? Is that what you were referring to? Or is that the building text?
Right, because the characters here appear to be the same.
Interesting.
Yep, those ones. Okay. Very interesting.
Cool.
Interesting.
There you go. So smart. That's like incredible translation skills. So.
See.
All right. Sorry, Jesse, for messing up your layout there.
Oh no, you're good.
That up. I just thought people would want a visual aid to go along with what we're talking about. So
how do we...
I blame the 7 heroines.
There we go. Yeah, so I'm asking if, I don't know if she has already, but if you can clarify which scene specifically had the meeting of lovers text, and then which scene had the building of counselors. Was that it?
I think building of counselors was the one on the door, she said.
Okay.
That I pulled up there.
Because she said there was this. If there was this,
like the pineapple does not belong on pizza. Oh, thanks, Natsu. You're correct.
Yes. I like pineapples. I like pizza, not together.
Yeah, same. Very interesting.
On his hand, I can't find anything conclusive. So she said she couldn't figure out the symbol on Link's hand. With theory that the symbol on his hand may not be a final image unless we are missing a large amount of runes. I say that because the symbol is very close to the Ohm symbol, at least in terms of inspiration. So she has like the symbol on his hand, but it's kind of blurry and jagged, and then like another symbol that it sort of matches or is close to that she thinks could be it. I would love an even larger capture of the doors if you upscale them. Here's a simple version. Okay, so that's her grid. Is there anything in her grid? For her to shine, glitter, be her comment can roughly be the lack of line. Sun not shining. Most likely each rune is half of a pair.
Uh-oh. Someone said no sound again?
What?
Uh-oh. No, I just pulled up the stream and there is sound.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Yeah, there's sound. There's sound.
Yeah. That's might be on you, Aquatoad.
Oh, they rewound by accident. Okay, no worries. No worry. I got worried for a second there. Okay.
And everyone's coming back in. There is sound. We can hear you.
Good. We got it. Good sound.
Yay. Also, FYI, I have to go in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I guess that's all of it. She's still working. Send an email with the grouped images of the things I think say the same thing.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we can go on to the next thing. Sorry that was so confusing. Wait, was it? For that grouped image, those ones say meeting of lovers. The grouped image.
Interesting. So we've got a building that's the building of counselors. We've got that poem that talks about the blood moon and the sun and the moon shining. We've got the meeting of lovers. There's like there's a lot to unpack here, and it's all very vague, but like it's got my mind like racing with like
yeah.
And I'll have a video properly explaining it a lot better than I was here. I'll have to talk to her after this and
But part of my thought as well, like if this door that he's emerging from in the trailer, And that being labeled the building of counselors, again, it makes me think of how in Ocarina of Time, every time you finish a dungeon, you beat the boss, and then it warps you to the Chamber of Sages, and like
You were
some
able to
story
beat the
Yeah.
bosses?
right? Yeah, in the Zelda game, you beat bosses
I thought
sometimes.
it was so hard. I thought only Goma was the boss. I never
know,
made it
right?
past.
So like I'm just thinking like for story implications, is this we were saying before is like maybe this is a dungeon that he's leaving, but what if it's
Mhm.
that after you finish a dungeon, that's where you return to do something important, or meet with a character,
Yeah.
or even in Skyward Sword, how you have to like keep returning to the Isle, the Isle of Songs inside the
Yeah.
Thunderdome. So like between dungeons, you go there and learn something new. Like I wonder if it's something similar to that even. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. My mind's going crazy with ideas, but
I just
think
had a
it's
thought.
gonna be a significant place for the story for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Please, your thought.
It's like related but not related. I think it was like right after, maybe like a few days after we got the name drop, that for some reason I decided to go back and look at almost everyone's old Breath of the Wild theory videos. And I was like, wow, look at all the things. I say we, I wasn't even a part of it yet. I was like, that we were thinking that we're like, no. And it just like, because I love this part of it. And it makes me think, what if we look back on this like 5 years from now and we're like, oh.
Oh, right.
The amount of things that you look back and you go, oh, I, or sometimes you look back and you're like, oh, I was right. I'm so smart.
That's true. Yeah.
I feel like I've had a
that's
couple
good
moments like that. That happens with me with Animal Crossing. I feel very smart when it comes to Animal Crossing.
You have a great track record with that, with predicting stuff.
To be fair, it's a very predictable game, but I'll take the win where I can.
True, still. I think, like, I remember that I had made a video in like 2015, maybe 20s. Yeah,
Oof.
I think 2015
Wow.
about Breath of the Wild. Maybe it was 2016, but thinking that it was like going to be the Hero of Time again. I was so wrong. But the idea was that it was like the downfall timeline, but they had like where you get defeated and it causes the downfall timeline.
Right.
But they had recovered his body and like resurrected him. That was that was the thought. How wrong I was.
Well, even just like the first initial reveal we got for the sequel, and everyone being like, everything's underground. Very next trailer, haha, it's the sky.
All in this. Yeah, right.
Like, oh, never mind. We spoke too soon.
What if some of those underground shots, like what if that dungeon with, or whatever place with Ganondorf is in a Sky Island temple?
That would be
Like,
interesting.
the basement of some building that's in this sky. Like, we don't know. That's the thing, because we only see the inside. Probably
That would really subvert the expectations we all have right now.
that would be, right? Yeah. I don't think that's the case, but like we don't know for sure. Right? I do think he's underground, like below the castle though.
Yeah. That's where they're showing it. Like that, or not they're showing it, but like that's the vibes they keep giving us. So if it's not that, I'm gonna be like,
yeah. Yeah. We'll see. 5 years from now, we can look back on this and either laugh or be like, hey.
5 years from now, we're all gonna be old.
True.
Sorry.
True. Oh, no.
Because I'm thinking it came out March 2017. I was still a junior in college. I wasn't even 20. Like, I was 21 when the original came out. And now I'm 27. I don't like that.
Oh, I know. It's like bonkers. It's even more dramatic with kids, I think. Like my son was 3. He turns 10
Oh,
this year.
wow. Wow, he's
Or maybe
turning
it was
double digits.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's like most of his life that this game has existed.
Oh, yeah.
Or yeah. Maybe my math is wrong actually. No, it's 2017, but it was early in the year. So maybe it was 4, actually. My math is wrong. He was 4. He was
Either way,
definitely
though.
like pre-kindergarten. He was pre-kindergarten.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are people. Yeah, like Matt's in the chat. He was 16. He would have been in high school. Now he's a grown ass adult. Like, you know.
Yeah. Or even
Mhm.
was Skyward Sword 2010, 11? When was Skyward Sword? Something like that. 2010 or
2011, that's right.
11. Like, oh, probably about half my students weren't even born when Skyward Sword came out.
Yeah.
And they're like in late middle school or early middle school, whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's
Right.
fine.
This is fine. Everything's fine. Yeah, it's bonkers. So, yep. I like it doesn't feel like Breath of the Wild came out that long ago. That's the thing. But this is
No.
my old man point of view, I guess. So,
But it did.
why does it have to be this way?
No.
Anyways, Jesse.
I am actually putting together the layout for 2 people on the fly.
Because
Alright.
I always leave at 2:30. I actually might as well. This might be a good time for me to go ahead and that way I don't have to change at my dance studio. I can change here and already
Fair enough.
be ready. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go. This was a good one. I love learning about that text. That is so cool. Thank you, Zoe.
Right? I actually didn't see, like, I didn't read what it translated to. And Jesse, you hadn't told us about all of it as well, just like the poem. And I didn't even read it. So this was like live learning about it for us, I think. At least for us too. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna have to tune out.
All
I'm
right.
the Geek Apprentice.
Bye, Geek.
I make videos. But bye, y'all.
Goodbye.
Daniel.
And everyone watching, go check the description and follow Geek's various socials. That's what I'm gonna say. But Jesse, sorry, what were you saying?
I was going to say, trying to think what was the next thing. Yeah, so there are, once again, honestly, I didn't even bother reading it because I imagine it's either coming from the same person or someone that's like a website that's wanting to talk about something. But a lot of people have been asking me about it, and I went back and looked at some emails, and there was some things that was interesting. If I can pull it up here. It was a video before the trailer came out. Okay, so it says I wrote the script, or okay, on the 4th. Is this right?
All right.
So it was a thing where someone was talking about a bunch of Zelda stuff that was coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I have multiple Nintendo.
By the way, for the layout, if you want, I can just like pop. I can do the screen share and just pop a third thing in there with the trailer again or something. if you just want something there.
I can put. I have something I can put there. I was
all right.
Not quite done with the other one before I started.
I was just trying to make it easier for you. That's all.
No, I have
just gotta make it.
I can put in the Breath of the Wild trailer there.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. If I can find it. Is that right? 13. Scaled.
We'll see. We'll see in a moment when the stream catches up.
Okay, I hope this is it.
Big. The trailer's taking up the whole screen.
Yeah, it was the 4K trailer.
Now it's going. There we go.
I gotta find it. There we go. There, now the trailer can play. So the... Which script was it? We have multiple... Yeah, okay, so the script... I gotta make sure that the audio isn't playing for it. Okay, yeah. I didn't want the audio for the trailer to also be playing, because that's bad. So, most of this came...
when I was streaming the podcast.
Most of this
way too loud, but yes,
comes from a couple different people, and then a collection of what other people were saying. But the email ended up getting what was shown off at the direct correct, because it says, well, confirming this, so I have to first surprise. Other people confirm. Okay. It says we have multiple Nintendo Directs. This is just a collection of a few different sources and emails or whatever. We have multiple Nintendo Directs that will feature the game coming out. So first, let's start with everything involving the sequel and the September Direct we just covered. Then move on to the other. Okay. It was suggested to take place on Thursday, September 8th or the 15th. A new gameplay and cinematic trailer. Okay, yeah. So a new gameplay and cinematic trailer will be shown, demonstrating new abilities, items, locations from Breath of the Wild that have been updated, ending with the official title followed by the release date, which happened. They'll give a few new details on the game and end by teasing. Well, the teasing part didn't happen, but like everything they said about Breath of the Wild 2 was in that trailer, which I think could have just been a lucky guess as well. But if the person did know what they were talking about and got that correct, then with everyone else talking about the Zelda Direct, I wonder, because he also mentions the Zelda Direct, if that would end up happening as well. And he mentioned them doing some event, like not something similar to a Nintendo Treehouse for the game later this year. And then when I was looking on the Japanese website, a few days after the trailer released, they had something to where it was like a Nintendo Live event. Like in Japan, Nintendo has these events where like a bunch of people come out and do stuff or whatever. So I don't know if he was talking about that or something similar to a treehouse, but that did also end up happening. And he says he mentions the Zelda Direct. When is it? Seems like he said January for a Zelda Direct, but everyone else that's talking about it says later this year. So, thoughts on that? Do you think...
I've been saying January for like months.
You've been saying January for a Zelda Direct?
Yeah.
Like, are you saying like if it does happen, that's when you expect it, or do you think it is going to happen in January?
The former. I think if we get a Zelda Direct, I think it won't be till the new year, because I think the rest of this year is already stacked with releases, and they're going to market those first. Yeah, that's what I think. So I would agree with January, honestly. I just think that seems like a more reasonable expectation. Because yeah, if also we have Bayonetta 3 still, Pokemon, other ones that I'm forgetting. As exciting as Tears of the Kingdom is, and the possibility of any other Zelda games, I really think they want to put in all their marketing towards these games that are out before the end of the year, because they want to get those holiday sales. They don't want anyone holding out before Christmas to buy something. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's my thought, at least. I could be off base, of course, Could be absolutely wrong. But I think the New Year is good, and it's not like they haven't done that before. Breath of the Wild's last and best trailer before its release was in January, before it came out in March. So there's precedent for it too. But what do you think, Jesse? What are your thoughts about this? Do you think I'm full of it? Just absolutely talking out my arse?
I think I still think they have something other, like another Zelda related thing going on. I don't know what it is, but or when it's going to be announced, but we do know that they do have other teams that are working on the Zelda series. We don't know how far along they are, or if something was just restarted before it was even announced, or what's going on, but they have Grezzo and Tantalus and whoever else. So it's always a possibility that something else gets announced. I've said a million times these remasters could have been done a long time ago and not have anything done with it, just waiting for the right time to release, or they could literally start a week from now and still have it finished before the year's over with. So both of them could have not even started yet, and then you could still have them complete, ready to go by the end of the year, because they only take a few months.
I mean, that's kind of what I think is the case, is that they have them ready. They're just sitting on them until the time feels right to release them, or whenever they feel that they need a filler game.
Something I've seen
It's kind of what they did with Pikmin, isn't it?
What they did with what?
They had Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I remember reading somewhere that they had it ready and they were just sitting on it for a couple of years. And then the pandemic happened and they're like, okay, we need some filler. We need some releases this year. We don't have enough. So they threw it out there. But they had it ready to go long before that.
I can believe it.
Cool. Anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Please go on.
No, you're good. I'm just trying to figure some stuff out. I think it's been so long in the Switch life cycle. Okay, so what I think is going to happen is, as soon as, let's say that these games do get announced in February or January, or they get announced to come out in February or January or something, and then it's another half year until, well, not really, it's May, right? Yeah, so
May's the release, yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure they've released Zelda games that close to each other before. It was remakes or remasters or whatever, but I'm pretty sure there's that one, within a year of each other, there was Triforce Heroes and Majora's Mask 3D and Twilight Princess HD and maybe some weird Hyrule Warriors Legends or something. So there has been times when that's happened in the past, and I think they could do it this time as well. But I feel that maybe they are also thinking the same thing that I am, which is if they do release it in January or February, and then that summer or that holiday season, they come out with whatever their next console is, then immediately everyone's going to be like, oh, they need to bring Twilight Princess HD to Switch 2 or whatever. Instead of being satisfied with it on the Switch, everyone wants it for whatever the newest console is going to be. And I think we're so close to getting a new console, I could see them waiting and saving it for that new console. And it's the same thing with Ocarina of Time. I feel like that would be held for the whatever the next console is as well. instead of just releasing on the Switch and then them moving on from the Switch within a year. Unless it's going to be backwards compatible in some way. But another thing I've seen people talking about a lot, which is really odd, and I think it's even a question that we have on Discord. Someone asked, which I think we heard the same thing about Breath of the Wild as well, because I think people are getting confused that because Breath of the Wild in this game takes place at the end of the timeline, that it is not just the end of the timeline, but the end of Zelda games. Have you seen this?
I have, and I feel like people who are saying that are not the same people who have been playing the games for years. Like Breath of the Wild was their first Zelda game. And they're like, dang, I came in, it's the end of the games, end of the series. Like, it doesn't make sense. They're gonna keep making games because they want to keep making money. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would they just stop? The games are selling really well. They've never sold better.
Yeah, I've seen people making videos on YouTube about it. The great Zelda community on YouTube. But specifically in our chat, someone named 𝗵𝗲𝗶 or 𝗵𝗲𝗶𝗶𝗶, whichever he wants to, or they want to go by, says, Mailbag, I've seen a lot of people thinking this will be the last Zelda game. I think it's BS since Zelda is too much moneymaker to be stopped, even though Breath of the Wild series would be a nice way to end it. What do you guys think? So I guess we just unofficially started the mailbag, but that was the topic. I have seen a lot of people mentioning that, and they said they mentioned it as well. And there's a few different people that replied to him. But yeah, it was Bravo said 0% chance Nintendo just end one of their flagship series. Laughed my ass off and saying to even consider. I said Bravo is right. Besides, they already have other games in development. Again, they have like Grezzo and other studios that are almost always working on Zelda. Dragon Chi, Patreon supporter, says there's less than 0% chance they will end the series. That concern should never enter any fans' thoughts. And there was someone on.
You don't shoot the golden goose.
Yeah,
you harvest the golden eggs.
It's like let's end the entire series after the sequel to the most financially beneficial game.
Yeah, they'll stop when those games stop making money, and the trend right now is not going that way. Yeah,
that is true. And even
Nintendo
then,
likes money.
I feel like they wouldn't even stop. Like, even if they did stop, not stop for like 10 years and then start again, like kind of what they did with Metroid. But
Metroid wasn't making them money, right?
Yeah.
So
like,
I get it.
Even if they do stop, they'll always come back to it. But if it came to the point to where it was selling so poorly that they were just like, we're gonna stop making Zelda games entirely and end the series, there's no point, because we just keep losing money. If that ever happened, that's when they would start like selling it off to someone. Like, not sell it, but at least
what happened with Skyward Sword, where sales trends were going down and down, and Skyward Sword massively underperformed compared to what they were expecting it to do. So they did Breath of the Wild. They reinvented it. They like totally rethought everything. They took however many 5-6 years to develop the game, and they thought, like, let's just reinvent Zelda then. And if that's what happens, like, again, like if Zelda starts to get to that point where it's not selling well enough, they're going to take a good few years. They're going to reinvent the wheel in terms of Zelda, and then it'll be a big success again. I think they are too attached to the IP, though, to ever actually like shoot it or to stop making games. Yeah. That's seriously my thought. I don't think they'll ever stop, though. I think they'll at least shoot their shot with trying to reinvent it. That's what Breath of the Wild was. Skyward Sword was not financially successful for them when it launched, and critics tore it apart. Well, actually, no. Critics were friendly to it. Sorry, fans tore it apart, and yeah, it was like one of the lowest selling Zelda games in the 3D Zelda series. So even Twilight Princess was like a course correction from Wind Waker, because Wind Waker underperformed.
Mhm.
So they're like, okay, we're gonna like totally change it up, even though it feels a little more formulaic. But yeah, so they're not gonna stop. That's my final answer. Sorry, Jesse, I'm rambling.
No, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone tell me, is my audio a lot louder than Daniel's is? Or are we about even when we speak? Because I've seen on yours, like, the audio, the meter, like, fluctuates higher and lower, to where mine, I think I have a compression thing on mine, so maybe if I added it to yours.
I don't know.
Yeah, shoot. Are there any other news things that we have before we get to the mailbag officially? Have you seen anything being announced or any rumors?
I've been too busy playing Splatoon to pay attention to anything. No, I think Retro Guy in the chat asked about an NVIDIA leak. Do you know anything about that?
Oh, yes. I actually do. So basically, I was going to make a video about this, but the video...
In video?
Yeah, the video that I made, an NVIDIA Nintendo video. So it was like a few weeks ago, I guess. Someone from NVIDIA had... Not from NVIDIA, someone, I guess just in that scene, had posted somewhere or mentioned that there's... So this is, if my memory is correct, a loose version of what happened was someone somewhere posted something that said Nintendo's next console is like a Switch 2 or whatever. It's going to be like all the same features and stuff, but more powerful, and this is the CPU that's in it, and he like named off the CPU, and then everyone was like, that CPU doesn't even exist. This is made up. Like, you just made that up. You're stupid. And then NVIDIA released something a week or two later, and it was the first time that chip that the person mentioned was announced. And it wasn't even announced, it was like in the backlog of documents where it just like mentioned it.
Right.
And in case you guys don't know,
it doesn't exist.
Yeah, CPUs, it didn't officially exist at that time, but it ended up sort of being announced like a couple of weeks after the person had made the statement. And if you guys know anything about CPU and GPUs, like, they're named after a long string of letters and numbers, so most of the time you couldn't even guess what it would be, because it's not like how people were guessing the Breath of the Wild title. It's like 𝗵HQ5690 or something. And then like if it's a brand new type of chip, then it's like you don't even know what the letters are even going to be, or the numbers, because it could start like in the hundreds or it could start in the thousands. So yeah.
So that basically it's like, this is too precise to be a coincidence, is what you're saying. Like, it's absolutely no way someone could just guess what that was.
Essentially, unless they had a genie with a few wishes left, and they've already wished to be like a millionaire and world peace, then you could waste it on something like that. Or they have a buddy that works for NVIDIA or Nintendo. And we have heard a bunch of times from Nintendo that they are working on their next console. They confirmed that it's still coming. I think Miyamoto stepped a bit too far and even at one time mentioned a new dual screen handheld only console at one point, and then never talked about it again. Just like he mentioned,
they were like, don't.
Yeah, just like Mario Galaxy 3 and Pikmin 4, and then it like 10 years later Pikmin 4 comes.
All right.
But yeah, I
think someone said that there was like a gap of 7 years between when Miyamoto last mentioned Pikmin 4 and when that actual announcement trailer was. It was like 7 years or something. Like, that's absurdly so long. He totally slipped up, I think, even mentioning it. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Something else that I thought was interesting that sort of goes along with their next console thing. And again, like, people are like, "Oh, that's stupid. It's a rumor. People don't. They're not making another Switch thing." It's like, well, Nintendo themselves, like, they've even said they're working on it and that whatever. Which is weird because I still get a few people that comment on some of the videos. It's like, "Oh, this is all clickbait," or "You made all this up," and it's like, you can literally see the interview on the screen. Like, this isn't me saying this. This is the people at Nintendo that run the company saying this. I'm just reading it. But
that's the thing. I think people fail to realize that their console generations exist. Right? They're not going to ride the Switch out into the sunset forever. They're and I can understand people being like, maybe the Switch Pro isn't real. Okay, sure. Maybe we're not going to get a Switch 2, but that doesn't mean they're not going to make a new console. It's still going to happen. Like, it's an inevitability. It's not if, it's when.
mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, like, can you imagine if someone was like, it was like the Wii, and they're like, "Oh, Nintendo's not going to make another console after this. This is the Wii. This is what we got now." Like, no, that doesn't make sense.
That feels bad.
Yeah. That's just something that I think people just need to realize, is that console generations exist. This is, Nintendo's like 8th console or something like that. I have to count in my head. NES, Super Nintendo, yeah, okay, 7th. Home console, if you wanna. Anyways, yeah, doesn't make sense. So, and they've always said that they are pretty much from the point that a console launches, they begin working on the next one, at least in R&D.
Mm-hmm.
They've been open about that in the past. Yes.
Looks like we're getting a bunch of new subscribers, so thank you to everyone who are subscribing.
Wow. It's probably because I tweeted that we... That's probably not that, actually. I tweeted out that we
post
had the
in,
translated
if you
text
can, post in the Discord to let people know that, because I forgot to do that earlier, because I was already late because I had to find some bananas for your birthday party later. What else is there? So another thing that goes along with this Switch 2 thing is there's this patent. And I talked about this in the video. And also, bye Zoe, thank you for clarifying on everything and giving us those details.
Thank you for being the
Retro
champion of...
Yeah, it was kind of funny, because at the end of, not my last video, but I think it was the one before that, I said something, because I mentioned the translation stuff was close to being done or whatever, and I said it was thanks to my new best friend, Zoe, because it's like, out of all the people you could have messaged to tell, like, thank you. But it was because she said that she liked that on our videos we do a bunch of research and like stuff and show everything, which is what a lot of people...
One thing that I was told was like that we have a pretty healthy amount of skepticism about things. Like, we don't just like buy into rumors immediately and just throw them out there. Like, we kind of pick things apart in a not a mean way and not a cynical way, but like with that healthy middle ground of skepticism. So I think that was a good way to phrase it. I was like, yeah, I feel that way. I feel like we're pretty good about that.
And I've mentioned 1,000 times, if I get an idea for something that I'm kind of questioning, then I'll message Daniel and be like, am I stupid for thinking this? Or what's going on?
Funny is, in your last video, there was something that... Oh, it was the shield thing. Like, that you said there was like a dark mark on the shield. And as you're saying it, I'm like typing in the comments that it was just Link's hood clipping through the shield. And as I'm typing that, you literally say in the video, it's actually Link's hood clipping through the shield.
Yeah.
I'm like, never mind.
There's actually a lot of people
watch the whole video before you comment, everybody. So, yeah, my bad.
No, you're good. There's actually a lot of people that mentioned that too. And I went to the comments. I was like, just watch the rest of it. It goes into a thing that happens later.
Yeah. Oh, even Kensblade says in the... I legit did the same thing, not even kidding, and insta deleted the comment.
Because I was explaining... Yeah. At first I was explaining what it was, and then why people were thinking that. That way I could we could kind of just be like, this is what they're thinking and this is why they think it. Showing that there is a bit of evidence to show it or whatever. And the thing that I'm confused about, because I kind of went into it on the video that I posted yesterday, but it was talking about that clipping. Jesse just put a 𝗵𝗂 on out. What?
Debated? What?
Oh, he's saying that, like, I guess he's saying that I caught everyone with the thing where everyone's like, oh, blah, 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 and then, yeah.
Like you baited. You did the bait and switch?
I guess that goes along with the jibby thing, debated, I don't know. Anyways, sounds kind of dirty, but... also, thank you, Retro, who says that he just signed up on Patreon. I actually really need to update my Patreon now that I have internet back, as you guys can tell. But Daniel,
yes,
there's a patent that Nintendo released not too long ago, where they were talking. Actually, they had an updated version of that patent release like a week before the Nintendo Direct, where they were showing the different angles and the camera motion for aiming your bow when you're like falling down, and how you can like move the camera while he's free falling and stuff like that. And we sort of seen some of that in the new trailer. Like the different camera angles that happen while you're falling and the transitions that he makes and stuff and the actions you can perform while falling. We kind of seen that.
You see him go from like different positions, like the diving and the free falling, and then there's like regular falling. Like you see him kind of go through those.
Yes.
Just like the patents show. It's cool.
But there was another patent where it was like a new program that they had made to get rid of clipping. And depending on the method they're using, it could be very CPU intensive or GPU intensive. And they had these other patents that showed up in the trailer, but they had this new patent, and we still seen clipping in this new trailer. So they haven't applied that yet, which is why I had the part in the video to expect the game to look even better, because if that patent exists, and it obviously does, then we can expect the game to end up looking better. But I was like, this was released kind of a while back. If they have the other stuff implemented, why isn't this implemented? Because I think you have to you can't patent an idea that may not work. Like, you have to show that it works.
That you're,
to get the patent. So they had to show them, at the patent offices, basically, if I remember correctly. Like, they have to show them, in the game, hey, this works, we're going to patent this. We invented this. You can't patent something you haven't invented yet. So if they have a working version of it, then why didn't we see it in the trailer? And it makes me think that, and this goes to the Switch 2 thing, and I didn't mention this part in the video because it was already getting on too long, but if we have the Switch 2 coming out soon and they do Tears of the Kingdom, similar to Breath of the Wild or Twilight Princess, Twilight Princess had widescreen and motion controls, and Breath of the Wild on Switch had more realistic audio. They had a new engine to where anytime someone took a step, it would make the sound instead of it just playing the same track over and over. So the physics would actually make the sound, and they had a lot more dynamic music and stuff like that. So there are changes other than graphics that they implement to the Wii U and the Switch versions. So if they have a Switch 2, I'm wondering, is this patent they made to get rid of all the clipping and stuff, is it so CPU intensive that it would cause the frame rate to drop so much so that they don't want to put it on the Switch version, but they still have the patent, and we could see that coming on a new version of the game where that comes on a new console. Like if there is the Wii U and Switch version, if there is the Switch, and then whatever their next console, like if there are those two versions, is the reason we didn't see that, but we've seen the other patents because the Switch just can't properly play it with the game still being like it is.
That's a good point. I was just glancing at the trailer too, and it's like in the shot where he's running towards the camera, and you see all the we're all focusing on like the vials or whatever they are on his hip, but like I'm looking at his hair, his hood, he's got the shoulder pad. They're all clipping through each other. Like his hair clips through his shoulder, the hood clips through his shoulder pad, and vice versa. So like clearly the patent was like so that, you know, this clipping doesn't happen, but it's clearly happening.
Yeah.
So I think there's credence to what you're saying. Maybe either that, or they had the trailer ready to go before the patent was approved.
That was another
maybe
thing.
Maybe they just had the trailer ready.
My two ideas.
They were waiting for that approval.
So the second idea that I had, and I told Bree this yesterday when I was talking to her on the phone as I was like editing that part of the video, and they have so kind of like what you were saying, in the email that I got, the same one that was talking about the thing, said that most of the trailers that we're going to see during this direct are just left over from what they originally planned to show during, if they would have had an E3 direct. So if that part is also true, then kind of like what you're saying, it's the video was made before they had this new patent officially filed, or before they were able to properly implement it correctly or whatever. Yeah,
I hold to it that I think the game's release, whether it's on Switch or another console or both or what have you, I think that the actual game is going to look better than these trailers, because they've had so many years of optimization to like learn how to make games for Switch in the last 5 years. But also, even just think back to like Breath of the Wild's old trailers, right? There was a lot of instances where like they were showcasing the Wii U version and stuff, and we were all like, wow, this game looks amazing, but it ended up actually even looking better. So I really do think that this game is gonna actually look better. And someone's bringing up like the clouds and stuff in the trailer, like there's a lot of them. I think part of that is optimization as well. It can kind of obscure things, and then you don't have to worry about loading in as much detail at a distance.
Yeah, and
as well.
Breath of the Wild. Sorry,
go ahead.
No, you.
I was just saying, like, it'll obscure things, and it also adds a bit of realism too, because if you're way up in the sky, you're gonna expect clouds. So,
yeah. There was a video I made a while back talking about some of the graphical improvements, and there's a scene where far off in the distance, I think it's like when Link is gliding, and there's the stone talus with the bokoblins on it. Way off in the distance, you can see Death Mountain really clear. And you can see like details and everything on Death Mountain, to where in the actual game, if you're at that same spot and you look at Death Mountain, it just looks like a big blurred color outline. Like you can't see any of the details, but on this you can still see like the cracks in it where like lava was coming down. So the draw distance and everything is already a lot further than it was. And I think it's because I don't think the Switch version was optimized at all, because
I mean, it was like really similar to the Wii U version.
Yeah, in their GDC presentation in like 2017 or 2018, they said that whenever they were porting the game over to the Switch, they were shocked at how easy it was, because, like, in their own words, they said they literally just, without any optimization, just transferred the Wii U version over to the Switch, typed in the code to, like, let it actually run on the Switch, and then without even optimizing the game at all, it was already running just as good as the Wii U version. And then they probably did enough to like change it to like the 900p instead of 720p, and then adding in the more detailed audio and stuff like that. But We even seen like within a week or two, when the game first released and everyone was complaining like, oh, it lags at this spot in front of the Shrine of Resurrection, and then Korok Forest lags a lot. And then within a week, they patched it to where it was getting like 5 or 6 more frames, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when the game's supposed to be running at 30, but it's only running at like...
It makes a difference.
Yeah, like if the game's running at 15 to 20 frames and you're getting 5 more, that's a 25% boost within just a week. So...
Yeah. I think also the... it's very common for games later in a console's life cycle to be just... They've just learned all the tricks that they need to make it run better and look better, right? Like, that's very common. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the case. This game is going to look fantastic. It's going to be gorgeous. A great thing about the cloud thing as well, because Rick in the chat said that they must have reworked the clouds. I think
they
Monster
added
Maze put out a
volumetric lighting.
In Breath of the
haven't
Wild,
seen this video.
Weather system seems to be tied to just... You've seen it? Or
I haven't. I'm sorry to say,
like,
you're the only Zelda person I watch.
That's okay.
And Rick.
Oh, wow. Flattered. Well, it was really interesting. What he talks about is like Breath of the Wild's weather system seems to be tied to Link. So let's say, for example, you're at, Gerudo Tower, and the weather there. If you look across Hyrule, the like clouds that you're seeing, whatever, if it's sunny, it looks sunny all the way across Hyrule. You could look out over to Faron, and it'll look sunny there. And then if you warp over to Faron, it's raining there, and you climb up somewhere high and you look out in the distance, it looks like it's raining everywhere in Hyrule. But the way the clouds look in the trailer, that very brief shot we see over Hyrule, it looks like the clouds are... we're talking about clouds, oh my gosh. But it looks like the weather is actually more dynamic to those locations rather than just where Link is positioned. And the exception, of course, is things like Thunder Plateau, where it's like there's a story event, there's a trial, so it's always going to be raining there until you finish that shrine. Same with like where Vah-Ruta is. But aside from those like scripted areas, everywhere else the weather will look consistent while looking in the distance to wherever you are. So that looks like that won't be the case. The weather system will actually be more realistic, because if you're in the desert, it should be dry and sunny, and if you look out to the rainforest area, it should look like maybe it's cloudier there or rainier there than it is, right? So it makes more sense. So I think that's something interesting. Definitely go watch that video. It's worth the watch, I think. Yeah. I hope I explained that well enough. He explains it better in his video than I did, so yes. Anywho, should we continue with the...
I was looking for the tweet that you mentioned earlier. I feel bad. Rick's in the chat, and I want to be like, Rick, come on the thing with us. Answer a Zelda question. But
I'm down.
Before we get to the mailbag, I do have, I guess, Rick, if you want to pop in real quick, we can add you to the chat. But the layout's already ready for it. We have a couple of guests planned. There may be someone named Commonwealth Realm coming on next week. An old Chamber of Sages buddy. We used to do a lot of videos and stuff together. I'm pretty sure you all know who it is. The week after, there may be someone from Game Explain coming on, who's been on previously. And then maybe early next month, there might be someone who may or may not be from Breath of the Wild and Age of Clams coming on. So those are 3 mayhaps, and we'll see how it goes. And I'm pretty sure everyone already, like anytime we say someone's coming on from Breath of the Wild, 9 times out of 10 it's like the same person.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Oops. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
That's exciting stuff. I haven't had Conrad on the channel in a good long while as well, so
yeah.
should be good. Very good.
That's all I had. Also want to say thank you to all the people that's been leaving the super duper incredibly nice comments on the videos, because it's always like, oh, this is the best Zelda analysis that I've seen, and other people were like, I really love the, what was it, the how in depth you get on the editing and stuff. Like, okay, so yesterday, this is how in depth I went. So I planned to have the video that I posted yesterday released the day before. I remember I worked all through the night, and I was like, I want to finish this and have it uploaded by 10 a.m. That was my deadline. That didn't happen. So then I was like, okay, by 2 p.m. I gave myself like 4 more hours. Didn't happen. And then I was like, maybe by 5 p.m. Still didn't happen. So then the next day I said the same thing. I want to have it done by 10 a.m. Didn't happen. And then I ended up posting it at 7 p.m. So it was like all night from 2 days ago until like 5 p.m. in the evening. I was editing. I took like a couple of breaks to eat and stuff. And then from like 7 a.m. yesterday until about 7 p.m. yesterday, I was also working on that same video. And what took me the longest was, I think it's number 3 on the video, where it's talking about the Midna Twilight connections and everything. Like that 1 minute segment with all the different clips and stuff took 10 hours of editing just to get like that 1 minute of clips, because it's talking about the snakes. Because I wanted to get like all the snakes that are like looking at each other, like on Zant or Midna's throne that's like off to the side. And then yeah, maybe I can pull it up on here and just show you guys, because it's like Midna has like the snakes that's going to the little ball on her mask that she's wearing. Zant has the snake dragon things on his shoulders with the snake flip-flops. And then what was it? Link's old shield had the snakes looking away from each other, but now the new logo is the snakes looking at each other, and then the other logo is the snakes coiled with each other. So it's like, and like all the different snakes that we see are designed the same way. So it's, as much as I don't want, like, I want the Zonai to kind of be their own thing, but I would also like to see the Twilight return. But I think I just got jaded because it took 10 hours to edit 1 minute of video, that I was like, I hope this doesn't happen. Stupid.
Oh.
Just because it was taking so long.
I get you, though.
Yeah, so...
editing is, like, wild. Sometimes it just, like, yeah. I feel for you. Like, my last dungeon video, that video took me... It wasn't all just editing. Like, the whole process overall, though, took me, like, a month to make that video. So, like... Yeah, it can be a whole process. Yeah.
Are we ready for the questions? Do you want to go to the Also, thank you, Retro Guy Gaming, for subscribing on the Patreon. Everyone, this is the last part of the Zelda mailbag. If you have any Zelda questions or any kind of questions, any life advice Daniel can give you, just let us know, and we'll try to answer it as best as we can. If you are a Patreon supporter, you automatically get your question answered. If you super chat, you automatically get it answered, and that's at any time during the podcast. You don't have to wait till the end. I thought there was more news, but I must not have kept track of it. So yeah, is there any questions that you can find in the Discord?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Okay, so here's one from Dragonchi, who is on Patreon. How do you propose we'll be accessing our map with these vials, since they're taking place of the Sheikah Slate? So in if anyone's like, what's going on? What are these talking about? For context, in Breath of the Wild, obviously you use the Sheikah Slate as like a literal tablet to access the map. we don't have it anymore. And instead, there's these vials on Link's hip. So I think personally that that's unconnected. I don't think the vials will have any use for a map. I wouldn't be surprised if Link just has a physical map, though. You know,
Tingle.
Do you think Tingle?
No,
Tingle
it was
will
a
sell
joke.
us maps?
No, it was just a joke.
Like
I hope he
in
does.
Broadcast?
That would be amazing.
Give us Tingle. I would love that.
Or Beetle. He knows where everything is.
Or Beetle. He does. He's been all over the place. Yeah. I think it's just a physical map makes the most sense. But that's me. What do you think?
Yeah, either a physical map or maybe he gets something like a Sheikah Slate that just has a map on it, and then he just puts it in his gear so it's not hanging off of the thing. Or maybe you can choose the item that's dangling from your waist. Like when you put on a new shield or a new sword or a bow or whatever, like you can see it there. Maybe there's more stuff like that as well.
Oh, so because like in Breath of the Wild, when you have a different bow equipped, it's like physically on Link. So do you think that'll be the case here? Like you can put different things on his hip, like different sub items.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
maybe that's just one of them.
Because I also think the second set of gear that he's
Go
wearing
who suddenly
isn't
vanished.
just-
If the
oh,
Zonai
shoot,
are
sorry.
really
There's another audio thing playing.
It's in like the green one. He doesn't have the vials, right?
The what?
Here's the thought: what if those vial things? What if that's just our version of bombs? Like he grabs one of those and throws it, and causes like it's like a chemical inside that explodes.
It could be.
So what if that's the new version of bombs? And
I like
that's
the idea of it
We're
being
all
magic,
thinking
though.
It's like something hugely. I like the idea of it being mad. I think like what you were saying before about them being like cartridges of magic to like give new abilities makes sense. But I'm like wondering, have we been way overthinking it? It's just bombs, and he just like grabs a vial and throws it, and it's just like chemical reaction happens, and that's new bombs. like it could just be that, and nothing else. And then when you switch to like a different, instead of runes, like a different sub item, then it puts that physically on like Link's belt.
I like the idea.
For thought.
I also think that because we see him wearing a mix of the two different armor sets, or like the champion tunic with the Hylian armor, whatever it's called, I think you'll be able to customize that as well. Like you can have your primary shirt, and then you can have like secondary armor over top of it. So I think that's going to be like the standard that we get with those two mix, but I think maybe you'll be able to upgrade it from like leather to metal or whatever, and like just mix and match to have it more customizable. And I think the hip thing might be customizable with it.
I'm down. Like more customization options is always welcome in my books. Like absolutely.
Yeah. So on the screen here, I have it paused at.
It is in the artwork though. That's a good point.
On the
sorry. You have it paused at
on the clip here, I have it paused at a part where it has the swirls on at the top of Midna's helmet that matches the swirls on the seat, whatever, the throne, and then the two examples of the Sheikah swirls, and then even the part of the fused shadow that has those same, because it's not just the swirl, like the square swirl, it's not just that, it's like they all stick out and then do it. So it's not just that the marking is on something, it's like they both pop out and then go around. Like on the top right, there's the bridge, and it has those symbols. And then there's another part with the snake connection that I needs to find, if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. So we see the snakes on the shoulder pads that are like looking at each other. On the bottom left, there's the snakes at the throne that's looking at each other. At the bottom right, there's the door with the snakes that are looking at each other. On the back of the Mirror of Twilight, there's like the snakes that are looking. They're looking away from each other, but still. And then on Midna's helmet, again, you have the snakes that are looking at each other. And they're not just snakes looking at each other, they all have something in the middle of them as well. Like, it looks like the two snakes are like grabbing some circle thing on there. On Zant's, you have the medallion or the jewel in the middle. On the snakes at the throne room, they have like the circle thing under their chin. And then there's the circle thing on the Twilight mirror on the back of it. So there's a bunch of different things that are interesting that lead me to think that, yeah, the evidence is showing that, but
yeah,
it's just different.
But I mean, there's just as much chance that this is something totally new that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, like an offshoot of the Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another thing which doesn't make sense to me, is people, maybe the game even states it, that the barbarian armor belonged to like an ancient aggressive tribe of warriors or whatever.
Right.
But everything we know about the Zonai has, like, none of it leads anything or anyone to suspect that they were barbarians or these warriors. They were more like magic users.
Right.
So
yeah, true.
Yeah. Because if they were like a violent thing, then why is everyone thinking the Zonai are the ones that's like holding down Ganondorf to stop him or seal him or whatever? Because most everyone assumes that Hand is someone from the Zonai or whatever, and that Link has the Zonai magic, and all the land we see is the Zonai. So if that's the case, then that completely goes against the same people that also had the theory that the Zonai was this like ancient barbarian race, because one's like violent, evil, or sort of evil.
Yeah.
Possible Ganon worshipping
comes from the barbarian armor set in Breath of the Wild, which people say is like the Zonai outfit.
Yeah, because we're seeing two completely
like
different.
And the
like the evidence points to two different, like completely different types of tribe, unless it was an offshoot to where it split to good magical users and then evil non-magical barbarian or whatever.
Or it could be just even that like one species isn't just one thing, right? It could even be that just they were a tribe with people that had many different roles. There were some were magic users, some were warriors. You know, you got cooks and healers and everything in between, right? Like I would say like it would be kind of close-minded to assume that this one tribe, all of them were savage warriors. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's kind of putting them all into one box, where it's like people are more complex than that. So that's just my thought. I don't know. I think it's probably a mix of things. It's not they're not just one thing.
I like that.
Should we go grab the next question as well? I'm just scrolling up to the mailbag. Okay, here's a good one that I already have my opinion about, but I do want to hear your thoughts. So this is from Willem. They ask, do you think the latest trailer is proof of time travel of some sort? Because on the wall carvings, all the bokoblins you can see, they have the long horns, like in the second trailer. So this has to be in the past because the carvings has to be old. That would explain why there aren't any towers around Hyrule Castle or the pillars near the castle, because the event hasn't even happened yet. Maybe we're going into the past to prevent the event from happening. So I don't think that this is any evidence of time travel. If anything, I think the wall carving is more prophecy than evidence of time travel. We've seen lots of evidence of prophecies happening in the Zelda series. Even Ocarina of Time, both Link and Zelda have a prophecy before the game starts, and then they kind of, Link has his nightmare that is a very literal prophecy, like he literally has a premonition seeing the future, and it does happen exactly like that. And then Zelda has more figurative prophecy that she has in her dreams, right? But prophecies happen with pretty literal sort of outcomes. I don't know. Like for me, I just don't see time travel because even the Hyrule we see is too exactly like the Hyrule of Breath of the Wild. You know what I mean? Um, like the castle's there clearly post Calamity. Castle Town was there already destroyed from the Calamity, is are still destroyed, right? So why would that mean that it's before the Calamity? Just because bokoblins have long horns. That like for me that doesn't make sense. I don't know. Am I missing something, Jesse? What do you think? What do you think?
I think you're right. I think there will be elements of time travel, but I think that'll just be time travel, or not necessarily time travel like we had in Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, but something more like Twilight Princess or maybe even Skyward Sword. Because Skyward Sword, you go back like 1,000 years or whatever, but that's only limited to that one area, and then nothing even really changes. It's just demise is demise instead of the imprisoned, basically. And there's a tree that you plant.
Right.
So it'll be something like that, or Twilight Princess, to where it's limited to a very single spot, like that one temple, the Temple of Time. That one temple, it's the most important. And then Wind Waker, it's limited to like the undersea Hyrule Castle segment. So I think it'll be something like that. Because of leaks and the voice actor who played Goron, we do know that there will at least be a memory or something of something happening in the past, because there's ancestors that he voiced, which I assume is the original champion of 𝗏 𝗏𝗀𝗎𝗄. So like maybe I think it just means that we'll see how Ganon first got sealed. Like it'll show those events happening, and I think that's basically it.
Right. I think Rick brings up a good point in the chat about the long horns being more of a sign of Ganon's power being strengthened, or like he's at more peak power. In Breath of the Wild, he's like preoccupied trying to build himself a body, right? And then the blood moon rises, and it's sort of a cycle of him being at peak power, and or momentarily getting a bit of a power boost, and he's able to recreate the monsters, which are made out of malice. So I think that the longer horns are an indicator of Ganon's more powerful in this game than he was in Breath of the Wild. I think I agree with that assessment. It just makes more sense.
Yeah.
And it could be that maybe if this is depicting a historical event, maybe whatever happened in history, it was at a point, like maybe the first Calamity, where Ganon was more powerful than we see him in Breath of the Wild. So the bokoblins had longer horns, and now he's at that power again. So the long horns are back again. Or it could be meaningless, and they just want a consistent look throughout the game, and we're all overthinking it. They just wanted those bokoblins to be recognizable for people, and it means nothing. That's always a possibility as well.
Yeah.
So
Charles in the chat
yeah
mentions Monster Maze mentions a possible Ganondorf vengeance on the 7 races that most of the time are acting against him, 7 like the 7 tiers in the mural. This thing, I think it's odd that everyone just keeps mentioning the 7 tiers, or whatever, the 7 medallion things that's going around the one character, but they don't include the other 2 that we see at the end. So there's not 7, there's at least 9. And then some people have mentioned that they believe that the thing on Link's hip with the green vials are holding those tiers. And it's like, but there's 8 spots there, and there's either 7 or 9 of the medallion thing, so that doesn't make sense. And then, like, I do think they're Sage related, and I think the 2 at the end are more related to Zelda and Hylia or whoever. But then it's like, Zelda is usually the 7th Sage. So that would mean that we have an additional 7 Sage.
7 Sages. It could mean that there's like one picture is there's 7 Sages, and they're all surrounding that one key figure. And then there's like a different panel that's showing Zelda, or a version of Zelda, and that figure. and there's the 2 more tiers, and maybe that's just to represent that these are 2 of those 7 sages. And then there's still 7. Like, it could, I don't know. Like, I feel like we need to see the whole mural, and we only see like these very curated, like these very specific snapshots of it. So, but yeah, I don't know. Like, it could still be 7. It could all be more. It could, yeah. I don't know.
Charles says the other 2 are Zelda and Link. It's not Link. Link is not 10 feet tall. Like,
yeah, Link's a short boy.
Link and Zelda are the same height.
Link
That
is
other
such a short
character is
boy.
like twice the size of Zelda. Like, I said that in
Also,
my
Link's
first
not a
video.
sage.
Yeah, Link's not a sage. He's the one that needs the powers from the sage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought that was, I don't want to say dumb and be mean, but there's people in the comments that mention that person being Link, and I'm like, no, that's it. No, Link's not 10 feet tall.
Yeah. Something worth a mention, though, about Zelda. In Ocarina of Time, Zelda is the 7th sage, but in games like A Link to the Past and Link Between Worlds, there are 7 sages plus Zelda. And so there's a bit of a discrepancy there. I'm not sure why. I like to think that maybe, at least in that Downfall Timeline's case, one of them is maybe like her cousin. So they inherited the ability to be a sage, but they're not that incarnation of Zelda. So they kind of get like slotted in there. That's like my headcanon. I have no evidence for that. But there is a discrepancy there. There is an inconsistency in those games. And then, of course, Twilight Princess, we only see 6 sages.
And then one of them dies.
Yeah. And then one of the water sage dies. Yeah, gets murdered by Ganondorf. So, and then Wind Waker has 2. So, but I always interpreted the Wind Waker ones as 2 in addition to the other 7, like 2 sages that served a different role than the others sages in Ocarina of Time, who had like their role was specific to like maintaining the Sacred Realm, guarding the Triforce, and sealing Ganondorf. The 2 in Wind Waker, their role was specific to the Master Sword and had nothing to do with the sages, the rest of the sages. Because a sage could be anything. You don't have to be the same group of sages in theory. So, sorry, I'm rambling, but it is I think worth throwing in the ring.
I sent you a link to the video that I posted yesterday because the pinned comment I say to ask your questions for them to be answered. So I was looking through some of those, and there's 2 people that have similar questions or that sort of relate to each other. Hylian Likely says, new sub here. I like your content. I had a quick theory. There's a lot to it.
Love that username.
But I'll give the TLDR. Since Breath of the Wild seemed to take inspiration from the first Zelda game, which it did, they came out and said that, what if Tears of the Kingdom is trying to emulate Link to the Past? And the second question from Ravenheart says, do you think Tears of the Kingdom is going to make a lot of references to the Era of Chaos timeline, which I believe Link to the Past is in? Are there any other questions that go along with it? No, that seems to be the only 2 that are related to that topic.
That seems to on that train of thought, yeah.
So what are your thoughts? Do you think it could be trying to reference or go for the style of a separate Zelda game, as the first one went from the original? Or do you think this is just a continuation of that? Because A Link to the Past was like basically the first game. Yeah. Which A Link to the Past was basically just the first Zelda game, but they're capable of doing more because it's now on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, and I feel like A Link to the Past was sort of the game that solidified like the formula that most games followed after that. Like, for example, like getting sword upgrades in the first Zelda game was tied to how many hearts you had, not like story progression. Then A Link to the Past Onward, when you get the Master Sword, it's a story event. So you could be doing a 3-hard run of a game of Ocarina of Time, and you'd still get the Master Sword at the same time. Breath of the Wild, for example, the Master Sword is tied to how many hearts you have, just like Zelda 1's upgraded Magical Sword and White Sword. So, and you could choose to skip dungeons or not do them, or do them in any order, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Breath of the Wild sold so well. I don't know. I feel like they're gonna stick with that style, and that's probably just like what they want to continue with. Basically, that's my thought. Yeah. In my mind, Breath of the Wild is like if Nintendo made Zelda 1, didn't make any other Zelda games, and then tried again to make a sequel to Zelda 1 after all those years. Breath of the Wild is pretty close to that in my mind. Obviously there's tons of influence from other games as well, but so like it's really a general statement, not saying anything specific, but you get the idea. So yeah, I love A Link to the Past, by the way. It's one of my favorite games ever, so definitely not throwing it on the bus or saying it's bad. It's just a different style than Zelda 1, and I think Breath of the Wild closely sticks to that Zelda 1 style, and it looks like from what we've seen of the sequel that's going to be the case here too. Yes. What do you think, Jazzy? What about you?
I could only see it doing that as far as the sages and maybe the second world idea, if that ends up being something.
Right.
Otherwise, it seems like it's more pulling from Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword. Or not, yeah, Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword.
I feel like in terms of story stuff, yes, but like gameplay style, like those are probably the most linear of the two, or of like 3D Zeldas, right? I don't know. We'll see. It's so early to tell. Like we haven't even touched the game, so there's no way to know for sure. We're just spitballing here, folks.
Yeah. Is there another question on that list?
Should we do one more question?
Yeah.
Just taking a look, having a scroll. Do you have one already? Or...
Oh, I was gonna let you pick it.
Oh, me. Oh, me. Okay. This is another one. Again, Patreon from 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Will we be introduced to new things to upgrade apart from hearts and stamina? Maybe magic? I think that makes sense. If magic meter returns, then maybe not even necessarily a magic meter, but if those vials are like magic ammo or magic fuel, then maybe just upgrading our carry capacity of how many vials we can carry, or things like that. I don't know. What do you think?
Can you read the question again? I want to make sure that I'm...
Okay, sorry. I'll go back to it. I had gone off of it.
Let me look at it so I can...
Will we be introduced to a new thing to upgrade apart from hearts and stamina? Magic? Magic?
Yeah, that's what I was confused. Okay, so the weapon part. Skyward Sword let us, and A Link Between Worlds let us upgrade our weapons. And then Breath of the Wild, there were upgraded weapons, but it was more like you just found them. Like there's bows that shot one arrow normally, and then and then there was other bows that let you shoot 2 or 3, which is what Skyward Sword did to upgrade you. I think there's a likely chance Nintendo will have that feature. And if we do have magic, then it's almost guaranteed there'll be a way to upgrade it, because I think every game that's had magic has had ways to upgrade it. Because you get like the half meter and then the full meter, or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really all I can think of. It's just magic weapons, maybe. Because all the other upgrades is just stat boosts you get from the clothing.
Yeah, or meals.
Yeah.
Like if you cook a meal or a food or elixir. Yeah.
It would be interesting if, like,
makes sense.
There was a way to become a better cook or something. So like, oh, if you cook food now, you won't ruin it all the time. And then it'll like give an extra stat boost or whatever. Kind of what I mentioned earlier, I think there'll be a way to mix and match armor that you already have, kind of like how he has the second set of armor on top of the champion tunic. I think you'll be able to put like upgrade that so that it'll get an additional stat boost on top of it. You'll probably be able to upgrade your magic abilities that you get. Like maybe you can rewind time for a longer amount. So that's how I see it. What about you though, Daniel? You already answered. Do you think this is likely, or
what? You
what?
bring up a good point, is that you could upgrade the runes in Breath of the Wild. You could upgrade as well, so I could see that. Any magical abilities. Yeah. Oh, and the champion's abilities you could upgrade in the DLC. So yeah, good point. Anyway, sorry, what were you gonna say? I
was gonna say, if that was the last question, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you?
Sure. Well, all the links are in the description, but everything is at 𝗵𝗃 as in there's the captain, and who is my dad, and he's a burger. That's 𝗵𝗃. Again, all the links are in the description. I'll be streaming the end of Ocarina of Time tomorrow on my channel as well, because I've been streaming that game. It's been very fun. So if anyone likes to hang out, watch some Zelda, or chat Zelda, feel free to hop in 10 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm actually working on a little theory video this week. This should be out by the end of next week, but I'm hoping to finish it this week, actually, because my Patreon gets early access. So it's not a Tears of the Kingdom video. It's a little collection of theories, like 5 theories in one video. I've actually done one of these, or a couple of these before, so but they're mostly Ocarina of Time focused, actually. So I think it's turned out pretty good. I actually had you and Rick proofread, or like give your thumbs up on one of them recently. So I think they're pretty solid, pretty fun theories. So that should be up soon. That's it. That's about it. That's what I'm working on right now before I jump into more dungeon design. But if people like Zelda dungeons, I have a whole series looking at, like, right now there's like more than 40 videos dissecting Zelda dungeons. So, you know, maybe give those a chance if you want. That's me. Thank you all. I appreciate you all. Jesse.
Yes, I am Jesse. I have been Jesse for a while now. And everything is at Game Over Jesse for me. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere you want to go. I want to thank everyone for all the great support on the newer videos. It's really been great, especially all the super nice comments everyone's been leaving. And yeah, look forward to Daniel's live stream coming. When is it again?
Tomorrow. At 10 a.m. Pacific. Same time we started this podcast, but tomorrow. So, yeah.
All right. Tune into that. I'll probably be in the chat as well. And with that, I guess Are we done?
I think so. That's
Cool.
the end. Thank you everybody for watching and hanging out.
Yeah, thank you guys. How long did we go? 2 hours? Cool.
Just over 2 hours. Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out. Sorry. No, wait. That's 2 hours for the new. We cut out like 30 minutes in. Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. Next time, hopefully OBS won't update while it's in the middle of running. So, thank you guys for sticking with us, watching. Everyone have an amazing day. And we'll see you next time.